This video is going to go over the FleetSync features of the Radiolog program. FleetSync is Kenwood's method of sending digital data over analog radio, so that if a FleetSync enabled radio calls in while the Radiolog program is running, it'll automatically open up a new entry window for you, just like this. If it already knows the call sign, it'll populate it here for you. So team 1 just called in. We're going to cancel and not enter anything right now. I want to show you a little bit about this FleetSync status area up in the top left. FS with a checkbox, and that checkbox means that yes, we are listening for incoming FleetSync traffic right now. The two lights underneath it represent COM ports. It can recognize plugged-in radios on up to 2 different COM ports. There's nothing you have to configure. It'll automatically scan the ports and find up to 2 radios. If a radio is there and plugged in, it'll be a green light. If the second one doesn't have anything plugged in, it'll be gray. And you also see when a message does come in, that green light will turn a little bit brighter for just a few seconds, like that. So there may be times when you don't want to listen to the incoming FleetSync traffic, when you do not want it to pop up new entry windows for you. Maybe radio's malfunctioning, maybe there's a radio that it's not appropriate to have a new entry window for, maybe someone's gone home for the day. In any of these cases, there are a few different ways to silence the FleetSync traffic. If you uncheck the box right here, that entirely mutes FleetSync, entirely ignores and stops listening for incoming FleetSync traffic. It'll stay flashing red up here in the top left because it's important for you to be reminded that FleetSync is being completely ignored. So that's not going to happen very often. For now, we'll leave that checkbox on so we are listening for incoming FleetSync traffic. Now, you might also want to selectively filter out a few different devices. There's at least 2 or 3 different ways to do that, and we'll go over them in the order that you might see them during a search. So for starters, let's say a new radio calls in that you haven't heard from yet, a new device. It's just like the radio check at the beginning of a search operation. When that happens, it'll give you the opportunity right then to change the call sign of that new radio, because it hasn't heard from it yet. Now, you can normally just punch in the team number and hit enter. But if you want to ignore this radio from now on, there's this picture of a filter icon. That's actually a filter, believe it or not. Click that, and it'll ask you, do you really want to ignore incoming messages from this FleetSync device from now on? If you say yes, then next time that same radio calls in, it will not open a new entry window for you. This is what it looks like when a filtered radio calls in again. You see up here in the top left, it's telling you, hey, that radio did just call in, but I'm not going to open up a new entry window for you. So a few other places to change filtering per device. In the team tabs, if you right click on a given team tab, then for any call sign that has FleetSync devices associated with it, you'll have this FleetSync section here, and that expands over to the things that you can change with filtering. Should be fairly self-explanatory. And what you see here is there could be more than one FleetSync device whose call sign is team 1. So you can filter each of those devices individually. I'll show you what things look like here when you filter just one. There will be a strikeout line that's flashing here. If it's a flashing strikeout line, that means some but not all of this team's FleetSync devices are being filtered or being ignored. Let's right click that again and see what our options look like now. You would click to unfilter that device that we just filtered. You can click to filter any other individual devices associated with that call sign. Or you can click here to change all of that team's devices to either filtered or unfiltered. So let's click here to filter all of their devices. We'll see that strikeout line change from blinking to solid. Solid means all of the team's FleetSync devices are being ignored. Now for teams with only one FleetSync device, I right-clicked on Team 2 here, it's pretty straightforward. There isn't going to be any flashing line, it's all or none, because there's just one FleetSync device. So let's go and right-click and unfilter those, and you'll see the strikeout line goes away. Let's do that for Team 1 as well. So the final place where you can change filtering, and you might have noticed this flashing red up here. This is the icon for filter again. If you hover over it without clicking, it'll show you any devices that are currently filtered. Right now it looks like device 2008 is being filtered. That's the default call sign. We haven't given it a different call sign yet. So you can left click on that filter button to bring up this chart here. This will keep expanding as your search goes on. Basically, you've got a new row for each individual FleetSync device that's ever called in. And on the right hand column here, you'll see what time was the last time that device called in. Even if it's something that's filtered, let's have another message from 2008 again, it will still update the time, and you'll still see this red box in the top left. Now, like it says here, click in the filtered column to toggle a device's filter. That's the only thing you need to click in this window, is in this filtered column. If I left click here, it's just going to toggle it between filtered and unfiltered. And you'll notice that that keeps sync with any other places that you set the filtering. Right, so let's right click on Team 1 again, FleetSync, and let's just filter 2001. You can see that changed to filtered. And let's right click Team 1, filter all their devices. Well, filtered that one too, that's good. And you can unfilter all their devices, and it keeps sync here. So as long as there's anything that's filtered, the icon up here for filter will be flashing red. Again, mainly as a reminder to you. It's important for you to know that. If I unclick this one, if I click to toggle it to unfiltered, now there's nothing that's being filtered, and the filter icon stopped flashing. So while this page right here is a nice little control panel, you're probably not going to need to use it very often, if ever. You should be able to control all the filtering options you need from right-clicking on the team tabs. And it's more intuitive and quicker there anyway. So that should cover all the FleetSync muting and filtering options that you need to walk through during a normal search.